justification for why HEX is gatekept. There's not a ton of trade volume in HEX. So like most assets, people are buying and selling. And in HEX, we're seeing a lot of selling now, but typically HEX is a buy and hold thing for people in the last couple of years. If you look at the volume from a dollar standpoint, there's tens of millions of dollars changing hands, but that's not like Bitcoin and Ethereum that are doing, you know, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in volume. And so centralized exchanges don't have a financial incentive to facilitate that. They don't want to be the liquidity provider in the equation for a couple of reasons. If the volume isn't there, they don't really stand to earn much in the management fees or the service fees. But additionally, when you combine that idea with the fact that HEX is kind of built to be a strong performing financial token. There are utility tokens, there are financial tokens. The utility of HEX is finance. It's monetizing time. These centralized exchanges take on marketing dollars from projects that want to be listed. They take on marketing dollars from their buddies, their partners in business who provide leverage trading. And so if HEX is only on DEXs and there's no diverse ecosystem of leverage trading for books to be able to arbitrage opportunities and really pitch retail investors, then they don't want exposure to that. And they don't want to put it on the same website where they are wrecking people by getting them to buy into these here today, gone tomorrow projects that are willing to pay thousands, hundreds of thousands, $1 million to get listed on the website. These exchanges would rather just take free money, take marketing dollars, plus maybe a private allocation of circulating supply and whatever other dirty tricks are out there, because that pays well. And if you put a product that doesn't do those adversarial and predatory things on the same page as all these things that could get you wrecked, people are going to slowly figure out like, okay, this actually is a better option for my money. And then they're going to lose transaction fees on all of these other volatile trading pairs. So they have a real financial incentive to just not show you some of the products that are in the marketplace because it could vampire tech their own business.
So how do we, is there a way to change that? Is that something that can be changed? Or
yeah,
is it just fundamental
for sure.
to RH products?
PulseChain will change that because layer ones, just people really don't understand the magnitude of difference in business between a layer one and a smart contract token. That's why, as much as HEX is down bad now, I like to just say down bad.
Down bad.
It's not a layer one. And so like the price performance that it has done is tremendous because you can put it on a graph and you've probably seen Gerardo's look into hex.com graphs. You can put it on a graph next to Ethereum and Bitcoin and go, wow, it's actually competing with, but it's not a chain, y'all. It's not a layer one. It's not a payment network. It's not a smart contracts machine. So there's really no reason that it's being compared to those two things other than maybe this store of value meme that has been sort of all the rage lately. But when PulseChain comes into play, there will be so many people who want exposure because it's a layer one, and that means that the possibilities are endless. Maybe the next greatest development in crypto is deployed on this blockchain, and maybe that will necessitate a huge capital inflow to acquire the gas coin, the native coin, Pulse. And so there will be massive trade volume going into things like that, as well as all the developers that may need to buy a big bag to be able to provide the liquidity platform for their initial launch and things like that. That's where centralized exchanges will get involved. And I think it's probably, this is a huge assumption, but I think it maybe makes sense. Once you've kind of knocked down the door and you've accepted that the layer one is available for exposure on the centralized exchange, we probably have similar sentiments that PulseChain will help HEX be more attractive to retail investors, you know, lower fees to get into your staking mechanisms and things like that. And just in terms of transactions, that will probably be enough to kick the door down for HEX as well. And so you see the memes every now and then of like the new project and it's in the Trojan horse. And it's like, that's how you're going to get HEX on the centralized exchange, is because this utility token is somehow going to bring the attention. It's like that. The meme is kind of true. PulseChain is probably the Trojan horse and HEX is sitting inside of it. So as people gain exposure to PulseChain, whether or not they get HEX on the centralized exchange. They just have way more exposure to the existence of this thing because it's not that big of a mental leap to say Richard founded both of them. And if you really like this one, have you tried this one? Right. So I think that's probably the future of getting out of the gatekeeping. Right now, it's just not economically an incentive. It's just the money isn't there to justify risking the rest of the business. But you've also seen Coinbase getting wrecked, crypto.com getting wrecked, tons of exchanges that are having troubles right now. Maybe they took high risk bets in the market. Maybe they're money laundering, who knows? But until there's a layer one solution, it's going to be easy for them to continue to take high risk bets on much more liquid markets like Bitcoin and Ethereum than it is to hope that by offering this one ERC20 to their market, it's going to somehow really make a dent in their P&L without risking all of this other business they're already doing.
Is that how we get fiat on-ramps? Is that one way that could happen is the centralized exchange for, getting them for Pulse and HEX? Is that part of the gatekeeping right now? That's if that happened, if Pulse got on a centralized exchange, and then maybe HEX would be, and so on, would that open up fiat on-ramps?
For sure. I mean, if you can get, that's the beauty of DEXs, is that if you can just get us one asset, and preferably the native coin, the gas token, if you can get that on the centralized exchange, it would be easy to go to Gemini, buy up a bunch of PulseChain, move it to your MetaMask, and then just go through PulseX and swap into HEX. And so you've effectively created a fiat on-ramp to HEX, even if it's not a direct from your bank account to the exchange in the form of HEX. All you need is one asset that's tied to that layer one and has a DEX compatible to that smart contract, because that's where DeFi does its job really well, is everything is tradable for everything else given order book thickness. So when PulseChain launches, and we've seen it, like Bitfinex is one of the largest holders of Bitcoin, and they accumulated for years, and then they go and they launch to market because they own all of this Bitcoin, that they can provide liquidity and they can provide leverage opportunities to traders because they got in so early that their cost basis is like unfathomably low. You're talking like $470 cost basis on their Bitcoin. And everyone's like, oh, we're on our way to 11K. 11K is a hell of a lot higher than $400. So they're not sweating at all. And they're earning fees and they're getting people wrecked left and right doing it. So if you can get PulseChain on one of these centralized exchanges, it'll only occur because they have accumulated enough of a bag that they feel that they can service everybody's business profitably. They don't want to be constantly tapping their liquidity, having to go out and market buy in high volatility windstorms. So they're more likely to accumulate early and on the inexpensive side of the S curve. And then when the time is right and they've matured their collateral to the point where they feel they can service whatever their targets are, $400 million in PulseChain volume a day or something like that. Once they feel they have that number in the war chest, then the gates rise and they're willing to provide that service to you.
Well,